I'm not
I
that.
just want to say I'm so excited to be
No.
in this meeting. Now, I will say this, just so you know, I hope you don't hear it, but there are some landscapers outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you hear any buzzy noises or any tinks, that's the reason why.
Okay. That's fine.
Looking beautiful, girl.
Thank you. Trying to
Okay.
get some,
It's
trying to
getting
get,
so long. It's getting so
trying to show some light since it's growing. Since
long.
it's,
Yours, you have such a good size. Your size is really good.
I was gonna have her make them bigger. Really?
No, I think you got the
You
right
wanted my
size.
hairdresser to make them thick.
No, you don't need them. You don't
I
need
was
them thick.
like,
Because I have several sizes in my hair,
mm-hmm.
from thick to not thick at all. And I wish I would have had them all thin.
Really?
Yeah,
You
I
just
would have. I
okay.
wish they were thin.
I'll probably leave it then because it already takes forever to
Do
do.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
I guess, girl, today has been a hell. Can I just say today has been a hell of a day?
It has been a day. I told you I didn't even know what day it was. What day is it? I didn't even know.
It's still Thursday, and when it ends, I will be okay. Because
Right.
today, I was like, it was like one thing after another. And life-changing decisions had to be made, and somebody had to get read their rights today. Like, why?
But you know, I think that's a good thing. And I'm going to tell you why. I think, especially in this moment of quarantine, non-quarantine, kind of quarantine, I feel like people are at these places where they're either very rude because of their own
Mess.
capacity to handle what's all happening, or
Mm-hmm.
they're like pushovers. And it's like, I just want to have some type of contact, whatever that is. So some people
She's
just
still working every day. She going into the office every day. She has been like this. She is curmudgeon. She is just she's an unhappy person.
So it's so funny that you said that. I have a word that would really go with what you just said. I do these words of the day, right? I look up these words, these 25-cent words, right? And so there is a 25-cent word that goes right along with what you're saying.
Devil.
And it's called I'm sorry, because I had actually a long list today. Perfidious.
Perfidious.
Yes.
What's that?
It's a deceitful and untrustworthy person.
Perfidious.
Yes.
I was gonna write it, but I'm gonna just Google it later because I don't know.
I'll send it to you later. Yeah. So
yeah, I could have used that earlier. Thanks. I could have used that at like 12 o'clock when I was talking to her, and I was just like, "You a hater." Perfidious would have sounded so much better. It would have sounded so much classier as I read her rights. So
I think you did it right, especially if you was clapping. You need to know why. Right? Let me harmonize in rhythm why I don't like you.
Like, what you don't know. What you don't know. I can't.
Why would we get mad? Why? It's like a dance.
Like,
why would we get...
what you ain't going
right.
I don't know. Because it's natural. It's
right. It is.
Stereotype is true. I can't.
It is.
I can't argue with that.
Right. So I wanted to say, I wanted to do this meeting with you because I had some people that had seen our previous discussion.
Okay.
And they were very much into our discussion, but they were asking me more questions about your book. And so I thought to myself, let me put together a small group of questions that are more focused specifically for you in the process to which you wrote the book.
Oh.
So I and just for the people out there in Watchy land, she has no idea what's going to be asked.
I was just about to say, I don't know what questions you're going to ask me. So, I've been working on my facial expressions, so this can be that practice.
Well, I think that the point of all these questions are so that someone who doesn't know you,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't know your story,
Mm-hmm.
can get a better idea overall of what your book is so that they can go ahead and buy your book.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. Do you have a copy of your book anywhere close by?
I do.
Could you please show the people in Watchville
Okay.
what it
You
is?
got my little dress. It has pockets.
That is awesome sauce. And it's very cute.
Thanks. Okay. This.
Here is the book. Pick it up. Pieces of 100 broken promises. So I want people to go grab this book, but I want them to know why it's such a wonderful book to grab.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The first thing, my very first question, which is very basic, what is it about?
It's about my life and overcoming trauma, abuse, divorce, family issues, mixed families, dealing with mental illness within my family, my own personal struggle with depression, and it talks about dealing with difficult children, having a child with severe MI issues.
Okay.
It deals with the families and everything. Go ahead.
What is MI for people that don't know?
Oh, mental illness. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know you've been at work all day, so you talking shop.
Literally just came in and was like, "You
Right.
ready?" Because yeah, I have been at work all day. So let me
Okay. What was your inspiration? What was the catalyst? What was the thing that made this book go from just being a bunch of experiences to being an actual manuscript and really a guide for healing?
When I saw that it was healing for me,
Okay.
when I went back and read some of the finished product and I saw how I overcame those things and what it felt like to reread that moment when it no longer brought me to tears or when it no longer brought me the pain that I experienced at that time. I knew it was okay for me to tell my story. When I sent it to the publisher, to be honest, it was just a thing to check off on my to-do list. Right. This book was really written for me, and I'm deciding to share it with other people because it was so helpful for me. And I'm all about healing our communities, one person and one family at a time. So I really wanted to share this, but I wasn't sure if a publisher would pick it up or not. It was just something I decided to do. And when they did pick it up, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm really doing this. Like all my business about to be out here. Okay. So yeah.
So what is your ideal target audience? Who do you hope picks your book up?
Anybody that's hurting. Since I'm a Black woman, right? It's written from the perspective of a Black woman. So I have issues in here that would deal with social justice issues, racism, systematic racism. So I have those experiences in my book and how I've had to navigate through that. However, it would be beneficial for everybody to read it because it's good to know, learn, and understand the struggles that everybody's going through, and maybe they can do better and be better and have empathy and understanding for people that they're around. This will be really good for anyone who's suffering with any of those things that I spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm.
So you made it very clear as you went through the book, like you said, you put your business out there, which I want to say was extremely courageous. What are your feelings, especially given your background and all the things that you've experienced? How important is speaking your truth? How important is telling the story and what's happened?
I don't think it's any other way to do it. You're the only one that knows your truth. I'm the only one that could tell my story. Nobody could have told it better than me. And if anybody has an experience that they have survived, because we have all survived our very worst days, right? Anybody who has an experience that they have survived and made it through, even if it seems like it's not important or it's not that big, or people who struggle was bigger or different, Everybody's story has a potential to change someone else's life. I had no idea how life-changing this book was until I wrote it and until people gave me the feedback that they gave me. It was my hope that it would help people. It was my hope that people would read that and be able to relate, to these different experiences. But if it didn't happen, it would have still served its purpose because I'm better from it.
So how does it feel for you after getting the feedback from writing to have that relatability with more than just yourself or your family members or people that know you personally? How has relating to strangers been for you?
It's humbling because the first thing you think is, I'm putting myself out here, and I made a video about this earlier, putting myself out here to be critiqued, judged, commented upon. I'm putting myself out here for other people's opinions. So good or bad, I created a platform for people to be able to do that. My feedback has been great about my book. And I've really just been just humble and just excited to see the changes that it makes in other people's lives. Now, doing the work I do every day, I have a pleasure to, see that. As a therapist, you have the pleasure of seeing your clients grow and learn from their mistakes. But this was a whole different platform because I don't self-disclose during my therapy sessions. So it's never about me. I don't want it to ever be about me. But for this to be so raw about me, and other people can relate to that, it was very humbling.
So you said that you hope that people would have the ability to relate to it. What type of experience do you hope a person has as they go from the front page to the back page of your book?
If I had this book when I was 20 years old, 16, okay? A lot of my stuff came in 16 years old. If I had this book at 16 or 20, I really feel like my life would have been totally different. Just reading about the experiences, even when I go back and read it, it's a wonder that I made it through that rape and abuse and neglect and the loss of my dad, who was my heart. And I'm still here. You know what I mean? If I had somebody to tell me, like, you don't need to self-destruct. You're going to be okay. You're going to make it through this. I would have made some different choices. You know what I mean? I would have done things differently. But I think I lived such a reckless life because I did not feel that I would even make it to the age where I am now. I didn't expect to live till I was 30. And when I hit 30, I was like, oh, I ain't gonna make it till I'm 40. Then when I hit 30, I was 40, I was like, oh, okay, I'm still here. I guess I better get my life together. But I just didn't expect it because I was always so despondent and so just ready for life to end because it was so miserable. But I'm still here, and I have sad moments, but I'm happy overall. I'm joyful overall. And so I could recognize a sad moment as a sad moment.
I would say very much so that this is a manual. It's a survivor's guide for the mind and for the spirit as well. You mentioned throughout the book, you have small moments where you put up scriptures. You have moments throughout the book where you speak about God and your journey with God and your lack of hearing versus when you had a relationship, when you received your relationship and made the connection. So how has your faith and your occupation, because you deal very much with spirituality and the very real thing of mental illness. So how did those two things, those two running parallel, opposite, I don't know which would be the right way to phrase it, but how did those two things influence your writing?
Well, I knew what was going on with me. I was able to identify depression, anxiety in myself. I was able to identify those things. The knowledge helped me to identify it, but my relationship with God helped me to heal. So I was able to pinpoint it and say, oh, okay, this is what this is. But it wasn't until I called out to God, to the Most High, to my Creator, that I was able to really start the healing process. Because I can know knowledge isn't, you know what I'm saying? Knowledge is not as much power as we think. We can know things, but if you don't have that relationship and the ability to implement that, right? I couldn't change my own heart.
Right.
I couldn't fix relationships. I couldn't leave relationships, you know, without God and without prayer. Every morning I wake up, I do a devotional. I pray, I meditate, I pray for my family, my loved ones, my nieces, nephews. I pray for everybody before I go to sleep and when I wake up. So it's the first thing on my mind and it's the last thing on my mind of the day, throughout the day. So when I wrote the book, that's what it was. It was me telling what happened that day.
Right.
My intent was the next day and how that all played out. And it's really just me pleading for God to intervene and to help in some of these situations when I just had no answer. I had no way of fixing this. That was God.
So there's one particular situation that you speak about in the book where you are pretty much in a home, you're homeless, you have your child, and you go and you stay with a friend who you've known for a long time, who also has a child, and an act of sexual abuse takes place with your child asleep next to you.
Right.
And you hear several traumatic experiences like that in the book. You also mentioned that you don't cry, you don't feel the same thing anymore for these experiences. So how does it affect you now? And are any of the experiences that you wrote about still traumatic for you?
Some of these experiences, I'm still living in the residual effects of it, right? Some of these experiences are still very real and current. But that situation with the people who hurt me, what helped me was forgiveness. And for me, forgiveness is just accepting that these things happen to me and taking responsibility to heal myself.
Right.
I have no expectation for anyone who hurt me to fix it. It's not their job. You know, it's my job to heal. And I can't expect the system that broke me to fix me, right? So when I say the system, I mean the people who were involved in, you know, the rapes and the abuse and all of those things. I can't go to them to fix that. That would be insanity to expect something different after they've shown me exactly who they are. So for me, it was just forgiveness. It was accepting that these horrible things happened by people that I loved and trusted and cared about, and deciding to fix it for myself. And it was also making amends with the people that I have wronged, because I'm not a victim in all the cases. You know, some things, I was a trash roommate. I'll talk about that. I was a trash roommate. You hear me? So going back and acknowledging the wrongs that I've done and trying to make amends for those things. So that's been an interesting journey as well, or it was. I've done the amends with everybody I want to do amends with. Anybody else who I didn't contact, you got what you got. Because I want to, okay, you deserve it. So, I feel about that. But yeah, it's just, I had to accept it. I'm still going through the estranged family members that, you know, we don't talk anymore because I have come to the realization that it's toxic, that it's unhealthy.
So in a time where we see toxicity in relationship on TV, in music, our next door neighbors, and most likely in our own families, he is almost celebrated. How did you come to the decision on your own that it's not my abuser's job to heal? It's my job to heal me. It's my job to seek a completion and a wholeness in myself that has nothing to do with them, their apology. How, like, that is an extremely emotionally mature place to come to. to
Mm-hmm.
get to. How do you tell the average person to traverse from this type of pain to get to a place of, it don't matter what you're doing, I'm gonna take care of me, I'm gonna heal me?
Mm-hmm. I was tired of being hurt.
Yeah.
I was tired of having to take a week to recoup from a conversation. You know what I
Right.
mean? I was tired of being taken advantage of. I was tired of putting myself out there and going for the okie doke, just going along with the setup. I was tired of seeking a relationship with people who really couldn't care less about me.
Right.
I had to see things for what they were. I very much have a problem with looking, well, I used to have a problem with looking at the world through rose-colored lenses, right?
Right.
So once I got my clear bifocals, okay, I'm able to see things more clearly, and I was able to see. And one thing that I prayed for, and this is in my journal, I think it's in this one, is discernment.
Yes.
I needed for God to show me who's for me and who's against me.
Right.
Remove them from my life, right? And bring me people who mean me well, and retain the people that's in my life that mean me well. And he did that. He moved these mountains.
Right.
He gave me the strength and the courage to do that, because it does take courage and strength to remove people from your life who's been a pillar in your life your whole life. Parents, children, aunties, uncles, exes,
Right.
whatever the situation is, if that person does not mean you well, and you've done what you can to repair or fix that relationship, it's not the relationship that's broken, it's that person.
It's that person.
You gotta let it go.
You call them trash, throw them in the garbage.
There you go.
They trash, get them gone. You don't need nobody rotting in your life.
I don't. And I could throw you away, but still hope that you get to the recycling bin, okay? Somebody needs you. You can be reborn with somebody else. And at the end of the day, I had to realize, if these people treat me like this, they really don't want me in their lives, except for what I can do for them.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a very much a parasitic relationship.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So what type of advice would you give someone who may be in this very moment going through bad divorce, sexual abuse, emotional abuse,
Mm-hmm.
A mom who may be having an issue with their child? What type of advice, specifically from reading your book, would you hope that a person would get to deal with a today trauma?
They need somebody that's unbiased in their life, like a therapist, a school counselor, if it's a child, a therapist in your city, a pastor, if you have someone that you trust. That went left for me, so hopefully that works out for somebody else. But if you seek information from someone who has details about you, who can give you resources that you may need, and in order to change, you have to be ready to sacrifice. With every change comes a great sacrifice. These people in this book that did this, they weren't all bad, right? I miss some of the funny moments that I've had with some of these people. So you have to be ready to make a decision. Do I leave? Can this relationship be fixed? Or do I stay? Do I make any changes? You have to be ready to make a decision. But I would say start with therapy. Start with talking to somebody about your situation.
Start with disclosure, right?
Yeah. Disclose. And if the first person does not hear you, if they don't help you, you keep telling until somebody does, until somebody. Because, right, your first therapist may not be for you. And I think that's the problem with people. They'll go to one therapist and be like, well, I went to therapy, it didn't help me. You know,
like you don't keep the first pair of shoes you try on.
Exactly. You have to test things out and see what works for you and see what doesn't. And it's not going to be your friend, your cousin, your sister, your mama. Go talk to a professional that can identify different
type of issues you may have
to see what you need. And like I said, you can get more than one opinion. I'm so big on more than one opinion because you never know what somebody can bring to the table. And it should not be somebody that you grew up with.
Right.
You need somebody that's unbiased.
What are the pre effects of the book being released and the post effects of the book being released? So I'm privy to what you were like right before this book was released. The world is not, but I was privy to that, right?
Yeah. You describe it.
For me, it was you were walking on a tightrope with a handful of dishes.
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to get across the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Where broken toed, you had one broke toe,
Mm-hmm.
your hands was wobbly,
Mm-hmm.
them dishes rattling, and you kept having moments where you were like, I'm
not gonna do it.
But
mm-hmm.
the thing that took place is you kept walking, and all the dishes made it,
mm-hmm.
and your toe ain't broke no more, and your hands ain't shaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's what it was like looking in. It was the culmination of seeing all your dreams and fears. So here's something. Since you put it on me, I can throw this back to you.
Uh-oh.
So there were so many small setbacks as this was happening. And I remember you being so discouraged. It's not going to happen. This is like everything else that goes bad.
Yeah.
And it happened. And I remember I kept saying to you, I'll be happy for you. I believe. You don't have to believe.
Because I couldn't feel it. I couldn't process it. Yeah.
But what that is, though, which is something that we've done for each other for a very long time. Mm-hmm. When my brain is too fogged over with the lies of depression and self-doubt,
mm-hmm.
I was like, of course you can do it. Of course you're going to do it. What's wrong with you? And I'm like,
do you know?
I can't do anything, right? And then when you're like, it's never going to happen. I just knew the second I got excited, it was all going to fall the effing pieces.
Happened. It literally happened like that. Like I wasn't allowing myself to get excited, as I never do. I never allow myself to get excited over things until it happens, right?
But it happened.
I got excited.
But it happened. And so experiencing the tightrope walk across the Grand Canyon to this place today, what was that journey like for you? What is the effects of that journey, I should say?
I feel more vulnerable. I feel like I put myself out there. Yeah. I don't feel bad about it. I feel like if people have a problem with me telling my story, they probably need to tell theirs, right? Whenever you read,
I'm sorry, my children are off camera. No, don't stop. That way.
I'm gonna talk to y'all later. I'll talk to them later.
So, you feel that? See, that just threw me all the way off. The flag is gone.
You reminded me for a minute. You into my like I was still in therapist mode in the beginning.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to come on.
Right.
Okay, you see me there.
I'm back. So the fact that you have had this moment and that you have traversed this journey, and you said you still feel vulnerable, you still feel like you put yourself out to the people, but what are the positive effects of being so brave to put all these things out?
I mean, I'm empowered from it. I feel as if all my prayers were answered. I was talking to my husband about this the other day. Everything that I've written in my journal, everything, Nubi, listen, Linda, everything I have ever prayed about has come to fruition.
Right.
Everything. I mean, and including my book, I've always said, I'm going to be an author. doctor. Like, you know, I've always said I'm going to be a therapist. Like, it was certain things that I just spoke into existence and prayed about and wrote about, right? And some of those things took longer than I wanted, but I needed to be in a space mentally to be able to receive this and to be able to deal with this. And the reason why I'm so glad I waited for my book to come out, some of these stories happened years ago and I hadn't come to an end yet. So in my book, you get to see the whole full gamut. It comes full circle. It shows, you know, this what was happening at this time, and now here's an update. So you get the story and you also get the update with the story.
Right. It's like watching Unsolved Mysteries from 1994, and I'll be watching it like it's brand new.
Like, and captured.
I'm like, yes!
Like, oh yeah. So that's what it is. Like, all the stuff that was happening that I wrote about, it's come to its finality. It's reached its culmination. And now you get to see the growth that has occurred from the raw pain that I had when I was writing the book initially. So it's really threefold. It's the rawness, because it was really just my journal, right? It was a raw journal. And then it was a raw journal with the scriptures that I needed at the time to help me to get through that issue, for each situation. And then end point. Okay, right now, today, this is the update from this story. So they get threefold.
Whoa.
Old and new.
What is the most unexpected response you've had so far from releasing your story?
The amount of people that I know that's close to me that haven't read it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. My brother has not read. Curtis hasn't read. Ooh, I said his name. Oh, well. Curtis has not read. So, a lot of it is about him. And I think for him, it would be difficult for him to process.
Yeah.
Because our childhoods were very different, although we were in the same home.
Right. But that's perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way we perceive, like you perceived your dress as purple and somebody perceived your dress as electric
blue.
And neither one of you are wrong. Neither one of you are wrong. How does that feel? To have people that you want to read it that are close that have it.
I don't really have an expectation for them to do anything other than what they've always done.
Right.
I think it just helped to solidify what I thought. And I don't think that he's doing this to not be supportive. I just think some of the truths that happened that I wrote about are raw because we're not all in the same space in our journey of healing.
Right.
So if we haven't started that healing journey, we're not going to, open up that can of worms. And then it can be a thing of feeling disloyal to the people that, loyalty over everything. That could be what's going on. He could be, feeling loyal over everything to the people who I wrote about in the book because he still has a relationship with them. And I don't feel like you can only have a relationship with them and not me or vice versa. I feel like we can all be cool. We can all be in relationship with him. But I feel like it can be a thing with loyalty as well. So I feel like whoever needs to read Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises, right? Whoever needs to read that will read it. Whoever needs to read it will read it.
How do you, and I agree with you, I think that it's very much a book, and honestly, like you said, if you had had the book at 16, you feel like your life would have changed.
Yeah.
I feel like this book very easily could be implemented into a curriculum.
Oh yeah, for sure. I started a curriculum for this book.
And that takes me to my next question.
Yes.
How are you going to follow up Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises? Well, what are your plans?
Yeah, so I've completed a workbook to help people with interpersonal relationships because I think that's where we all need to start. First, we need to discover who we are. We need to discover where our trauma, the root of our trauma comes from. We need to discover what we believe, why we believe it, how we feel. We need to be able to identify what we feel.
Right.
We need to be able to identify what we like and what we don't like. And so my interpersonal workbook for picking up the pieces to 100 broken promises, it covers that. Yes. That's the first part of it. The next part of it would be, of course, I'm going to go into relationships, familiar relationships. I'm going to go into relationships, romantic relationships. I want to cover relationships with children, family members, and just how to connect or let go, whatever it is that you're supposed to do to be able to identify what it is that you need to do.
Very cool.
That's best for you. So I'm waiting on my publisher now to complete the editing process and to get back to me. This COVID-19 has really
it's affected everything.
It's affected just things being released and stuff, but
right.
When it's time. So
right. Now, as you've done this work, as you've written this book that started off as journals and prayers to God, that is now morphed into, could you pick it up one more time for me? That is now morphed into this wonderful, real thing. How has your definition and experience with healing changed?
Yes. My experience with healing, for me, I'm a tactile learner.
Yes.
So I need to see, hear, and feel. I need to understand from all those different aspects in order for it to sink in. So the process of writing this book, the process of first living the experiences, writing the book, publishing the book. Bless you. Oh, we gotta go. No, I'm just kidding. You know how people.
I know. I can't get it.
All right. See you later. We're wrapping this up.
Right. Right. Gotta go.
You all right? You good? But the process of writing it and then putting it out there and hearing women share their stories or men share their stories about their childhoods or adult relationships that they're trying to get through, custody battles and marriages and relationships. I don't think it changed the healing process, but it changed my perspective of healing. Healing has never been a fun process.
No.
Healing is not just a straight line, straight up the scale of, going from despair to this is wonderful. Healing is ripping the bandages off an infected burn that cover your whole body, picking it off one scab at a time, cleaning it out, and then patching you up one space at a time. Healing is not a fun process, right? So when we get to it, sometimes we feel worse than we did when we were in the actual situation, but that's all part of the process. And I think what this has taught me even more so, and I've always believed in just holding on and finding joy in the journey, right? It has taught me that God has not abandoned me. He hasn't forgotten me. And I think when you go through so much trauma and when you go through pain and heartache and you come through on the other side, sometimes you forget to look back and see those areas where God picked you up. And that's what this book did. It showed me those areas where God had me when I felt so alone.
I think that's a very poignant thing to say, because healing, growth of any kind is painful. You can't through the soil and dig your roots into the ground without being in a form of pain. Healing is not this wonderful where sunshine and roses
experience. No, it's not blooming flowers. No.
And little bluebirds on your shoulders. And
absolutely.
No, it is a very ugly thing.
Bluebirds plucking your eyes out.
Exactly.
It's not fun. Okay.
Right. You know, that's what you should do. You should do a calendar to go along with it and have like little weird things. Like today, healing plucked my eyes out.
Today it plucked it out. I have no eyelashes from healing.
Right.
God is good. Right. But God is good.
Healing punched me in the stomach.
Right. But it'll be all right tomorrow. God is good.
It'll be okay. And then the next day it'll be like, healing gave me a sunshine today.
All my fingers cut off.
Right.
God is good.
but God is worth.
That's
Amen and amen.
amen. I mean, because that's what it is for real.
Just to overall, I was going to ask you about relationships with some of the key characters, but I think you kind of touched on that when you spoke about your brother and then the people that are close to you that haven't read the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to just bring it all into a conclusion or just a culmination of everything, I asked you to take a minute or 30 seconds to just think overall, what are the greatest changes that you have experienced inside of yourself from the beginning of this process to sitting here with me today?
I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
So many things should have taken me out, including myself. So many reasons why I should not be here, but I'm still here. And the fact that I am still here is just such a blessing because, by God, if I wasn't, I would have affected so many people that cared about me.
Yeah.
So many people that love me and that want to see me win.
Yep.
And I think, like you said earlier, the lies that depression tells you is that nobody cares. Exactly. You won't be missed. The world will be a better place without you. And so being able to see myself come out of that misery with the help of you and, you know, my husband and my therapist, right? And people around me that saw me going through this. Sometimes they were the cause of it, right? And sometimes they were there to help me get through it, to live through suicidal ideations, to live through, I knew you were about to turn around, to live.
Please. Thank you.
My niece at the house.
I know, it's okay. Just hold on. We almost done. Mommy time.
I know, right? Hey. To just live through it. The fact that I'm still here is just everything to me.
Yes.
Some days I didn't want to be. And I mean, my healing started before I published the book. My healing was, you know, reaching its culmination before the last story in this book was written. And it's very recent stories. I think the last thing that happened was probably like in December. The last story was probably like in December of last year. So I wrote to the very end until the publisher was like, okay, we need to get this out if this is what you're going to do. Right. So that part started, but it was just interesting to see how it affected other people. I think that's the biggest change in my journey, and just accomplishing something that I've always wanted to do that would have never happened had I not taken the first step. My dad wanted me to publish this book, God, about 8 years ago. I started writing it when I was going through the divorce from my ex-husband, maybe 11 years ago now, and maybe 12 years. I started writing, I started journaling. And
closer to about 15, honestly.
Probably, yeah. For sure, yep. I'm glad you keep track because I don't. I told you, when I forget you, honey, child. So, no shade.
As a witness, I bear witness to what you've experienced. So let me just say that. I bear witness to what you've experienced. I am thankful that I had the window seat that I did.
Girl.
And when the whole thing transpired, I would wholly and fully encourage any and everyone that is watching. This book will change you. This book will change you for the better. This book will make you realize and understand you are not alone. This book will make you realize that the atrocities that you have experienced are going on in other places, in other people's homes, to other people's children. I think that was the thing, one of the things for me where I was just like, I did not go through that by myself. There were several things that you experienced, that I'd experienced, that we'd experienced in parallel time and did not know. Because again, when you are being abused, when you're being tore down, it all lies to you and tells you that you are alone in a dark dungeon and nobody can save you.
Right.
And so I just truly thank you again for being so courageous and for putting so much of yourself forward in these words and in these pages. And I just really, really, really encourage everyone. You don't have to be a survivor. You don't have to be a divorcee. You don't have to be a parent. This is a guide for life.
Mm-hmm.
A guide for processing emotions and processing healing, and realizing that because I'm healed doesn't mean I have to deal with you.
Right.
I think that was one of the most valid points you made throughout the whole book. My healing does not require me to deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people need to know that, because I think somewhere the thought of to be peaceful, to be healed, to be of God, you have to allow
yourself. Right.
your abuser
Back
to
into
be
your
in your
life.
face to abuse you some more.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer of kick rocks. I don't gotta ever
with no shoes on. Right. Kick them
with glasses in between each and every one of your toes. It was crunched up.
That's a little okay. We need to do an individual.
Okay, all right. Anywho,
we need an individual session. Okay, we need to get you past that. For they can kick rocks with no shoes on, but we want no glass
and daggers.
Read the book again.
I will.
Spirits.
But you know what? See, this is the thing, though. In reading your book, I can sit here and say that it's okay for me.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not healed because I feel like you should kick rocks with glass on your tongue.
Okay.
I feel like this is why I say that, and this is the reason why I did. You kick rocks on me. You kicked me with glass in your toes and enjoy.
I'm trying to kick it to me. Trying to kick me. Right. Okay.
Trying to cut me and gut me.
Right.
And
right.
So
we're gonna do it to
that same energy.
So it sounds like you saying, may God bless those that bless me and curse those that curse me. That's what
just saying.
It just came out like
same energy.
Glass in the toe.
Yeah, in the toe. Same energy.
Same
Vengeance
energy.
is mine, saith the Lord.
There you
and
go.
So you kicked with no sandals on and it was glass there, saith the Lord. That's all.
It happened. I had glass in between my toes before. I ain't put it there, but it happened.
But I just, again, I just wanted to say, in all seriousness, that this is definitely something that should be picked up by anybody. Husbands and wives should buy it. Children with their parents should buy it. Women in their relations, men in their relations. This is a book that anybody of any relation that has any relation with a person that is one-sided, that is heavy in abuse. This could be the thing that changes your life and brings you out on the other side. This book. And so I just want to say, for the masses, thank you. Where's that wonderful book?
Thank you.
Thank you for writing Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises.
Thank you for reading it.
It was a wonderful, honestly, I read the book. It was so good and so intense. I literally read the book on a Saturday morning within a span of maybe 3 hours.
Dang.
I have children that I was like, I'm holding the book and I'm holding my baby. I can't believe. Don't talk to me right now. I'll get you breakfast in 1 second. So then I'm scraping the eggs and I got the book in my hand. And I'm like, oh my God, do you? And then I will put it down and then I look around and I pick it back up because I was just hoping that I had the opportunity. And then when I was done, so literally I cried. Literally I laughed. Literally I yelled and I screamed and I cursed. And I prayed and I was grateful and I was thankful. I really felt all of these things. And I just really thank you for giving the world this piece of you.
Oh,
I really
thank you for receiving it. I mean, thank you for receiving it because you've been an integral part of my healing process, and I don't have a problem saying that every time I talk to you. But it's just been one of those things where if I hadn't put it out there, it would have been something I regretted for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
Hold on, don't hang up. Don't hang up.
Okay.
You're calling me. Hello? Hey, what's going on? 'Cause I'm a
Okay.
In my experience,
Mm-hmm.
children who have the worst parents end up as the best children.
Yeah.
Their survival meter goes up. They don't require nothing. They're easy. The children who are loved on and doted on and coddled are the ones that will slit your throat in your sleep.
I agree. I agree.
You got to find a healthy balance. Like it has to be a balance. And then biology has a lot. DNA got a lot to do with it.
Oh, it definitely.
It
Nature versus nurture definitely has a lot to do with it.
absolutely. Be
Like
careful
we
who you
gotta.
procreate with. Go down his family tree and ask about all them in my mental health issues, right?
They
Um,
need to come up with a DNA test that'll say, shouldn't
don't
do it.
do it. Don't do it.
When you supposed to have go get the blood test to make sure y'all not cousins, it should tell
Right.
you one way or
You
another.
should say the mental
Absolutely
health stuff. Your crazy and his crazy don't go together.
not
You
well
need to
at
get you
all.
somebody with less crazy or none.
Right.
Because this whole situation with my child who would jump out of a feathered bed into a frying pan.
Yeah. But it don't got his ability to jump has nothing to do with you though.
Absolutely not. And I can't keep tethering him to the bed because apparently that's illegal. You can't do that. You can't tether kids to beds. So you have to allow them to make decisions, life-changing decisions, even though you know what the outcome is going to be.
Life-changing a bit. But you know what? Since you have done everything you can do, you have done everything. All you can do at this point is let it go and let God.
That's it.
That's it and that's all.
That's
Okay,
it.
I don't know if I just heard that, but somebody just screamed upstairs.
I'm going to need you to go check on them. Take the thing with you. I want to see them.
Then I gotta carry stuff.
Carry it. Carry me.
Girl.
Carry me to the room.
And carrying. Good Lord.
Carry me. Pick me up higher.
Hold on.
Hug it. Hug the computer.
Girl. Okay, so stop recording it. You can't record these the children.